Hey everybody, welcome back to Brush with Coaching with me, Martin Carter. So do you ever have those days when you feel like you're weighed down by a problem? Or you're wading through treacle, trying to get on and identify your priorities and make progress? Or maybe those days when you just feel you're beating yourself up over a mistake or something that's happened? Well, if that's the case, and I guess it happens for all of us, it certainly happens for me, I want to share a tip with you from a guy called Michael Heppel, who's a writer and speaker. And his tip, taken from one of his books, is when you're weighed down or you're wading through treacle or you're beating yourself up, is to stop and ask yourself, how will I feel about this in a week's time? How does this thing look if I look back at it from a week's time from now? Will it seem so big, so important, such an issue? What I found is that question is usually enough to help me release the pressure on the problem I'm wrestling with, or break me through the treacle that I'm wading through, or help me tune out the voices in my head which are beating me up and criticising me and holding me back because of some mistake or issue I've made. But it doesn't always work. Sometimes these are big problems. This is deep treacle, or this is a loud voice, in which case I go to the next level, which is, how will I feel about this in a month's time? Looking back from a month from now, will this seem like such a big issue? What will I be telling myself is the priority that I should have gone after? What should I be telling myself about this mistake or this issue? Now, that has always worked for me, but there is a DEFCON 3 level that if that doesn't work, the week and a month, then ask yourself, how will I feel about this in a year's time? Will this seem significant? Will I even remember it? Will it even matter looking back 12 months from now? And that has always worked. There's one or two occasions when I've had to wrestle with that, but that has always worked. But there is a fourth level, DEFCON 4. And that's when I stop, or we stop, and we ask ourselves, how will I feel about this on my deathbed? Now, I've written elsewhere, you can find it down in the timeline, about the regrets of the dying. So if you want to know how it might look on your deathbed by hearing from those who've had to face that unfortunate situation, then check out that post. But for most people, most of the time, just taking a moment to stop and change our perspective on an issue. But for most people, most of the time, taking the time just to stop and get a different perspective on this issue from a day or a week's time is enough to help us see that most of what frustrates us, most of what irritates us, most of what we get distracted by, most of what holds us back, most of the mistakes that we think we've made are insignificant.